Welcome to Escape from Quarantine.
I'm Janae Serrano.
And I'm Kamiko Greenwood.
So sit back and tune in and let's get rolling.
Today we're going to be talking about college life.
What's college like for you?
Well, it has its ups and downs. The biggest positive for me is not the commute. I love the fact that I can literally roll out of bed and then go to class.
It clearly has its ups and downs. Some classes just need to be taken in person because if it's not, you have an invisible professor.
I can totally relate. I think that the pandemic has really highlighted how some teachers teach and others utilize YouTube videos. I know for some of my classes, literally the teacher has in their modules just YouTube videos. I don't even talk to the professor. The professor doesn't have office hours. And then even though they state that they'll have office hours, some professors don't have it. It's just there just to say.
I can definitely relate. My teacher's like, I don't want to have Zoom sessions at all. Let's just text.
You literally get to text your teacher?
Pretty much through this website called Canvas, where we do all our work. We just text him. And that's pretty much how the whole class goes.
I don't know. Would you say that's worse than email?
I'd say the respond time is whenever the teacher feels like it.
Well, how quickly do they respond on
that? Sometimes I get no responses at all.
Oh, wow. Your teacher's ghosting you.
For real.
I have the same thing where I'll email the teacher and the teacher just won't respond. I literally get ghosted. And even just grading, they'll wait till after the semester to grade all your work. So you don't even know what your grade is. It's literally a surprise. I think that's horrible.
I think they wait so they could keep you after the drop date so you can't go nowhere.
That is true. I feel like it's Dr. Jekyll and Hyde after the W date. Your withdrawal date. They're so nice. They're like, oh yeah, I'm here. If you ever need anything, come to my office hours. I had this bio teacher that said to come to her office hours. I went to her office hours, did everything I was supposed to do. Oh yeah, don't worry about your grade. You got this. You'll this. And then right after the W date turned into, who is this professor? Where they were literally saying that, well, it's basic biology. In the office hours, when I'm asking for them to explain to me this concept that I obviously cannot grasp. And I was like, are you serious? Did you really just say it's basic biology when I'm asking you to please explain because I don't understand? Can you basically just help me? Right? Can you help me learn?
Well, I say they hold us to deadlines. They should hold their own. If you're going to take 20% of my grade for turning in something late, you grading late, I should get 20% of your check because you're not doing your job.
That's an idea. Literally. You know what? If they give us a week to do an assignment, then they should have a week to grade it. Why are we, if you can't grade the assignments that you give us, then maybe you should cut back on the work that you give us.
I can totally agree. I had a teacher who was like, I can't even fathom grading all this, but you assigned all this.
So why did you assign it?
To give us busy work because she has nothing else to do.
Oh my gosh, that's the truth. I literally had a professor that said they don't have anything to do, so they just on their spare time can, create more assignments. I'm like, but why would you do that? Why don't you utilize your time to tutor, students? That would be helpful.
Teachers should be held accountable.
They should be.
Well, a topic hot on my campus right now is academic integrity. And how do you hold that in the remote time?
It definitely is. And it goes to proctorio. which is a software program that is supposed to I deter students from cheating. That's what they say, but it's totally
So pretty much
discriminatory.
web spyware.
Yeah, exactly. They're monitoring you, trying to make sure that you're not cheating. And it's said to be known that facial recognition software tends to favor other people versus, people of color. So my question is, you say that you're all about diversity and equity and equality, but yet you're wanting us to use the software? You're choosing to use the software, even though you know it's discriminatory.
I definitely agree with that. The scanning the room just feels so invasive.
It is. There's professors that are on Zoom that don't even have their camera on. They don't want to have their camera on. So if the professors themselves don't want to have their camera on, why are they trying to make students also have their camera on?
That's such a double standard.
It is a double standard. And my thing is, I understand they would like to see other people, and the thing is, their argument is, well, if we're on the ground, we would be able to see everybody, but we're not on ground. We're in a pandemic and it's online learning. You can't compare online learning as far as like the environment online versus someone on camera. There's people working too, and at their job and going to school. So it's been a positive for them. They're doing their work. Why are you complaining that they're at work doing your class? As long as they're getting the work done, that's all that should matter.
Right? Taking care of the kids is what's important. Worrying about our success is important. Educating us is important. Academic integrity later down the line, if you don't know how to do your job, you're not going to get hired.
Exactly. Academic integrity is so important. They talk about our integrity as students, but what about the integrity of the educators, the integrity of them upholding education? Teachers need to educate. And if they would minimize the weight of tests and assignments, students could focus on actually learning.
You couldn't have said it better. That it's just the system has become corrupt. It's all about test scores and grades, not about a student's well-being and how they're doing in the class as a whole.
We're in a situation where the colleges are choosing us. Students should choose where they go to school. We should be accepting what college we go to. I mean, in a sense, we kind of are. If we get accepted, we have options, but it's all about learner autonomy, right? Students should be able to choose the way in which they learn, and students should also be able to choose what students should be able to choose what educational institution they want to go to and be able to go to that.
How is Zoom versus on campus? Do you feel like Zoom is better, or is I know they both have their pros and cons, but which one in reality is the best to you?
I think it depends on the professor and the student itself, because for me, I don't think I would be able to do all that I've done if it wasn't for online learning. I'm able to be in 4 places at once because of that. If I was on ground, I would not be able to attend all the meetings and things that I do, because a lot of times they schedule it at the same time on the same day. What about you?
I feel the same way. I'm involved in so much on campus, advocating for students, just being there as a friend. And I wouldn't be able to do all that if we were on grounds, being in one way on one side of the campus and another.
We would literally be living on campus, how involved we are in on like inner school.
I definitely have my own room at this point.
Like I was stating, the students should really choose how they learn. Everybody has different learning styles. And I think that would really make a difference if we were able to, you know, maybe choose a professor that's more visual. Maybe a professor, I mean, I know I do this where I try to look for a professor that I know is engaging, from referrals from other students, that's not necessarily test heavy, because I suffer from test anxiety really horribly. So I can't deal. What about you?
Well, how do you find a professor like that? I know they have websites like Rate My Professor where you can go and read other students' comments that have taken the class. But is that really reliable?
No. It's not as reliable. I even heard some professors literally say they write their own reviews. But it can give you a gauge of like how a professor is. And from that point, I go and start asking students, hey, what classes have you taken? Have you taken this professor? And try to go from there. What about you?
I feel like it's a disadvantage because if you're on campus, you can literally ask somebody coming out of that class, hey, you're in the class. Tell me how it is. Whether online, you don't really have that connection. You're not connecting with other students. So that's a downside to being on Zoom. So that comes to Zoom fatigue. How are you dealing with that? Like, I'm tired of being in Zoom every single day from this time to this time, back to back meetings. It gets tiring.
It definitely does. It definitely gets tiring. What I do is I play video games. That's what I do, you know, and in between it helps me to relax. What about you?
I'm a reader. I would sit and have a good book and be in a meeting at the same time.
I mean, I'll read something that I feel is interesting, but I don't know if on my off time between reading like man's search versus man's search. Wait, what is it? Man's meaning for search, something like that, and then go read another book. I'm good on that.
I love reading a good novel. There's nothing like winter sitting by the fire and reading a good novel.
What's
In this
the
remote,
latest?
I was going to ask you, in this remote time, how do you advocate for yourself as a student?
One thing that I've done is I started a campaign. I go to my clubs, I go to other students. I'm like, hey, this is happening, informing the students, I think, because a lot of times people just don't know. They're not knowledgeable about what's going on, or maybe they feel the same way that you do, but you don't know until you ask. Um, I think almost every one of my professors, as far as proctorial, I've informed, like, hey, guess what? Do you know about this software program? This is how, I'm feeling and some other students are feeling. So that's the way I go about it. And then try to garner support from other students. How about you?
I definitely advocate for myself and other students as well. Being president of the Black Collegians at my school has pushed me to put myself out there in a way that I've never have before. So that's one thing about being online that's helped me is I talk way more than I do in person. I'm more of a quiet observer. And so advocating for others has become a passion of mine. And I feel like it would be better on ground than online in a way that if you go to your president of your board, they can literally just kind of tune you out. You don't know what they're doing behind the camera because most of the time they don't turn it on. You don't know if they're listening to you, as if in person you can see by facials if they're receiving what you're saying or not.
I can understand that perspective. For me, even though I don't have my camera on, I'm definitely engaging. I make it a point to let people know I'm listening. Um, so that stereotype doesn't fall for like everyone, but I understand that people do that.
Well, I'm definitely pro hybrid if we ever go back onto campus fully. Um, Students should have a right to choose the way they learn, the best way that they learn. Um, it shouldn't be up to teachers if they want to do online or not. It should be up to the students.
Exactly. I don't even think students were consulted if or how they feel about going online. I know the professors at our institution were talking about the administration asking them if they want to go online and I mean off on ground and how that would look like. I even told my professor was talking about um, people's hygiene, like students' hygiene that they observed. Not everybody's how do I say this, hygiene friendly and how that would look like. you know I think it's important that all students be able to choose, that we have options. So I'm in total agreement with that.
In reality, we're the clients to the school, so we have the power. All we have to do is stand together.
What do you think about the vaccination? I know some schools are forcing students to get vaccines to go on ground.
I don't think it should ever be forced. It should be a choice. I know that it is a risk for certain people that to get the vaccine if they have medical issues and things like that. So I don't think they should force students to do that.
I agree. Not everyone, not everyone can take the vaccine, and for those people, there should be, you know, options.
Yeah, there should definitely be an alternative. If you can't take the vaccine, I don't think you should have to drop out of school because you don't do well in online learning. Um, I know a lot of people who aren't in school right now because they aren't good at online learning. That's not a way they can, their attention spans and the way people talk, and it's just not comfortable for them. Their home situation, it's not comfortable being on camera and talking.
I believe, well, I'm hoping that online learning will not be forgotten when school goes on ground, because there was so many issues happening as far as the transition that they were talking about online learning that already existed, right? Because we have had online learning. It's just, it wasn't a priority. Now, because everyone's online, this is a priority. But when everybody goes on ground, will it still remain a priority?
I doubt it. I have teachers right now saying if it comes on, if we go back to full campus, they'll refuse to teach online classes um, at all.
Can you tell me why they said that?
Um, they say they feel like students can't be trusted at this point with their education, um, cheating. They're worried about academic integrity, going back to that. But they said if we use a program like Proctorio or another web spyware where they could monitor the student, they'd feel more comfortable.
And that goes back to the mistrust. It's really disappointing that we have professors worried about whether a student is cheating versus giving students other options of learning, you know? And if they would provide, I think, more tutoring services, provide, you know, minimize the weight of these assignments, what it would dismantle the idea of like cheating in general. Why would you cheat if it doesn't weigh that much? If it's not going to affect your grade, students wouldn't cheat.
Well, I had a run-in with a math teacher at my school who was using Proctorio, and it was hard for me because I was failing my first quiz ever since being in college. And I'm going and asking for help. And I've never been with a teacher at that point in my learning that was so unresponsive at the school that I was just in shock. She pretty much told me that the website kept crashing, Proctorial kept flagging me for like internet issues, sounds in my background, that she was like, it's a personal problem. You can take a 0 or get out my class at that point. And I ended up having to drop my first class. And it was like heartbreaking to me, because I say that like, even if I'm not good at it, I'm going to stay in the class, stick it out, and learn something. But at this point, I feel like the teacher didn't care. There's not enough level of care. They're just here for a check. I feel like some teachers, not all.
I had a professor where they stated, like, on the first day, they were like, guess what? 50% of you or more are not going to pass this class. And I'm like, we haven't even done an assignment. You haven't given us a syllabus. Like, where did you get the statistic? Like, are you determined to fail 50% of your students? That's what I got from it. And I'm looking around, I'm like, and it, I understand that some people too, like because of college acceptance and everything that they're going through application process, they couldn't drop that class because they already stated that they were going to be taking that class, or they weren't able to get into other classes. But as soon as that professor stated that, I was like, this is obviously not the class for me, because it's not centered around student success. You're predetermining that I'm going to be a failure before I even start.
I totally agree. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, we're paying you to do a job, and you're sending us, at this point, YouTube videos. You're getting paid to do nothing, not even teach at all. If that's the case, I should just go to YouTube University and get my degree, because I can learn everything I need from YouTube.
Exactly, YouTube University.
Free.
Exactly, YouTube University. We're sitting here watching YouTube videos, and where's our degree from? You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
And
there's deception on both ends, and I feel like it's wrong that it weighs heavier on the student and not the educator. How do you feel?
I totally agree. The failure, like a student's failure, is should be a reflection on that teacher. If 50% of your students are failing, then you're not doing your job right. What are you doing? I understand that some students might not, you know, might not necessarily be motivated. I understand that there's some students like that. But for the most part, who's going to sit there and waste money, right? They're wasting money. They're paying into this just for you to fail them. For the most
Yeah.
part, students are going to do everything they can to be successful.
Yeah, I had a teacher who wears it like a badge of honor how many students she fails. She gives you so much work that it becomes so overwhelming. She's like, well, this is a class you need to take on its own if you're going to take my class. Well, that's unrealistic for people who are receiving financial aid. They have to have at least 12 units, and your class is only worth, what, 5? So I think it should be more about, teachers should be more worried about student success and not how many students they fail.
Exactly. And the thing is too, is not just the professors themselves, because I had a professor that had the opposite situation. They were talking about how they passed too many students. I'm like, if the students are doing the work and they earn that
Wait, hold on. That's a thing?
Yes, it is a thing. You know, they were stating that other professors were basically shaming them for having students succeed. Oh, yeah, that class is easy. No, that teacher was able to simplify the material, which is their job, to simplify it and have students understand it. So that teacher, if anything, is a wonderful professor. And that's why
Deserves a reward.
Yeah, exactly. Administration gets on them. And I don't understand that. They should be getting on the people that continue to fail students. We should be giving the professors a grade beyond rate my professor. You know, we should be in our college institution be grading the professor at as they teach us. You know, look, did great on this, didn't, you know, for me, I need this. And then that should be the measurement of if we should have these professors teaching us in our institution.
So I want to clarify. So are you saying that college is a money pit that is trapping students by failing them so they would continue to take classes there?
I couldn't say it any better. If you think, I mean, college is a business. They're receiving money from us, right?
That's
What it
right.
is. If students continue, if all the students, right, are passing, they're not going to be taking the classes over again.
They're going to lose money. The more students they pass, the more they transfer and they lose students. If I'm failing you and causing you to have to repay for a class each semester, that gets you to stay at my school for 4 years, 7 years.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. If you're going to a 2-year institution, why are you promoting anything beyond 2 years? I don't understand that. Well, yeah, you're a STEM major. You're probably going to stay here for like 5 years. What? In a 2-year institution? Uh, I didn't read that. You said 2 years.
I didn't sign up for that.
Exactly. That's ridiculous. Why is your curriculum so that students are staying for 5 years?
And if you're a student, sometimes you don't think about the strategicness behind college.
Or the politics that you go through when also maybe you're trying to advocate for yourself. I mean, some professors don't even know um, the politics when a student is going through something and
Well,
how
we
to help
both have
them.
made it known that we're advocates for change in the school system, but I know I've received being reprimanded for speaking out. Have you received being reprimanded for speaking out, or somebody trying to get back at you for speaking out about their class?
Yes, yes, I have. And I'm very vocal because I feel like it's not just me that's in this situation, or even if I'm removed from the situation in general, it's not directly affecting me. How can I sit by and let my fellow peers and students go through this? When a student's going through something, it's not just their problem, it's our problem. We need to all show support and unity with these problems that are in our institution, our educational system. And I think that lies the problem too, because you have some students are like, hey, well, it's not directly affecting me, so I'm not going to do something about it. But it should affect you because so many people are going through this, you know, they need your help. How can you sit back and allow this to happen?
I couldn't have said it better. You can't sit by and let it happen. Um, you could be in their shoes, and I feel like teachers get comfortable as soon as they get tenure and aren't held to the same standard that they were before. So there needs to be a new curriculum that if you're failing so many students and they're just nobody wants to take your class, you don't need to be a teacher, don't need to be a professor, you need to go.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. Tenure is literally, well, tenure can be a positive thing for the good teachers that speak out, and continue to advocate for their students, but tenure can also be the devil. Like, I've been in situations where the first thing they ask me, well, is this professor part-time or full-time? Do they have, and it's like, it doesn't matter if they have tenure or not. Like, this is the things that they're doing. We got to do something about it.
And I hate when they hit you with that academic freedom. That is the teacher's academic freedom that they teach the class this way. We can't interfere.
Well,
That's
what about
crazy.
the students' academic freedom? What about our academic freedom? Right?
Do we have any at this point? I feel like all decisions are made for us.
Yeah, I agree. It's a dictatorship. They're dictating to students what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. We're and then they like I like the part where they sit there, and I'm being totally sarcastic at this moment. We want to know how you feel. We want to know, your ideas and your concerns. No, you don't, because when we tell you what's going on and the things that need to be changed. You might say you're consulting us, but at the end of the day, are you implementing it into action? No. Are you dismissing them? Yes. Are you invalidating them? Yes. So, how are students' voices being inputted? Because at this point, I don't see it.
Kamiko, we're starting a movement. This is where protests happen. This is where boycotts happen. But students get scared that teachers, once, okay, we get them back in the classroom, what is it going to be like then? Is there really going to be any change?
And then we're not condoning reprimand. Like we shouldn't have to be afraid of retaliation, right? Because we've had that. But the thing is students are afraid of that. They're afraid of retaliation from their professors, retaliation from the administration. And it really, for a student to speak up. And I think that's another thing.
You become blacklisted. There goes Kamiko. There goes Janae.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, we know where this conversation's gonna go. And it shouldn't be like that. If anything, you should be like, you know what? We hear your concerns, let's implement them. Why is it that I'm at a board of trustees meeting? I hear all these students' stories about things that are happening, but yet it's ignored. And
even joked about.
Yeah, exactly. And my thing is like, students need to be on the board of trustees. That's what needs to happen. And the student trustee that's on the board doesn't even have a vote. So why are they even there? To consult?
Where is our representation?
Exactly. Because we're not being represented. You have us there as figureheads. Like, oh yeah, this person's, a student and they're aiding in this, but you're not allowing us or listening to us or taking anything that we say and inputting it.
I feel every student is entitled to speaking out about how they feel, and it should be heard.
It should be, but a lot of times it goes on deaf ears.
Representation is about demanding that we are seen and affirming that we all matter. Because as students, we do matter. And we are here on campus. We are paying you.
We are a matter of importance, and we should be heard and represented.
Well, thank you for tuning in to Escape from Quarantine. Again, I'm Janae.
And I'm Kamiko. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Welcome to Escape from Quarantine. I'm
Janae Serrano. Let's do it over.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Did I do it last time first or you did?
I don't remember. I think you did.
Okay, so then you. Charlton, who did it first last time?
I'm not sure.
Okay, can we start over?
Are you going to go first or you want me to go first?
I'll go first and then you can say your name and then I'll introduce topic and you say sit back and relax and all that.
To then. Okay. And then you answer it. Okay.
Okay, Charlton, we're ready.
Yeah, you can start whenever you guys want. It's still recording.
Welcome to Escape from Quarantine. I'm Janae Serrano.
And I'm Kamiko Greenwood.
And today's topic, we're going to talk about how the pandemic has changed our lifestyles, and everyone's in the world.
So sit back, relax, and tune in.
So let's just get started. Mask and gloves. How do you feel about that becoming part of everyday fashion?
I think a lot of people have, it definitely is a fashion trend, but I also don't think that it would really stay. What do you think?
On the contrary, I am pro mask staying, in the morning. I know some people out there know what I'm talking about is when you don't feel like doing your full face makeup, you put your mask on and only have to do from like the nose up.
That's definitely true. But do you think that it's gonna stay? Do you think that it's gonna be one of those fashion trends that lingers after quarantine?
I think so because people were kind of wearing masks before quarantine. It might not be as popular, but I still think people are going to do it. But I do think businesses are going to start getting stricter after quarantine about like people not wearing masks due to like safety reasons and things like that.
I agree. I think that I think also though some people distinctively don't like masks or wearing them. Did you see the videos of the people wearing underwear as masks?
I did. Oh my God. People are being really creative with their protection.
Exactly. I literally
Or
saw
lack of.
I saw a girl literally take off her drawers and use it as a mask and walk into the store.
No way.
Yes. I was like, oh my gosh. Like if I saw that, I wouldn't even know what to say, like in the store, or even as like a store employee. Like,
I don't know how
where did you even
hygienic
come
that
from?
would be.
Exactly.
Well, did you see the Grammys and like the mask, like the fashion mask? I was like, oh my God, designer mask is going to be a thing.
It definitely is a thing already. Like even freaking Lady Gaga, as always, has like the most outrageous fashion. Her masks are like crazy, but Megan the Stallion's performance and the stuff that they had was really interesting. I would describe it as ratchet classy.
Oh my. I was also Beyonce's mesh mask.
Definitely, definitely. There was a lot of good highlights for the Grammys.
Ratchet and hot.
Exactly. What about the gloves? Do you think gloves are gonna stay in?
Gloves has always been a fashion trend from like the 18th century when girls wore gloves.
I don't see that. Now that one I don't see it staying. No, I don't think people
You're
are
trying to get
gonna.
rid of gloves? Oh no.
I'm talking about the latex gloves.
Oh.
I'm not talking about regular gloves like the cloth gloves. I'm talking about the latex. I definitely think latex is gonna disperse after quarantine.
I agree. They'll go.
The question is, do you think people are gonna be hygiene conscious, like more hygiene conscious, now that we have had this pandemic?
That's the best thing about this pandemic is everyone's being cleaner.
I agree. There's so many times where I went to the bathroom and I see someone just literally not wash their hands and walk out. This
Oh
one
my
time,
God. One time I was at a buffet and a lady was in the bathroom with me and walked right out, and I washed her, touched those utensils, and I was like, I'm done. I want to go home now. Don't even want to eat.
yeah, that would definitely ruin my meal. And the thing is, like, you would think that they would be like, maybe, I don't know, like, oh my gosh, let me wash my hands. They have like no shame, just like, okay. Have you been cooking since quarantine?
I didn't cook before quarantine, so my mom's happy I'm not cooking. I burned the house down.
Same here. I think quarantine has not been safe for my kitchen. If anything, I've been learning how to burn things maybe faster than before.
Like I was saying though, I don't think that it's gonna continue with the mask. I mean, I don't know. Because businesses, I think that after a while, they're not gonna want you to wear the mask in the store. Once people get vaccine and life gets back to normal, I don't think that's gonna be something that stores are gonna want.
I agree. I feel like even during the pandemic, not they wanted it, but I don't think they're gonna want it after the pandemic. Did you hear about like Six Flags and the no scream rule of the regulations that they're trying to implement?
No, I have not.
Oh my! Do you think that you can ride an amusement park ride without screaming?
Absolutely not. I can't. Roller coasters and me are not friends.
Exactly. I don't know how that's gonna work or exactly how they're gonna do that. I mean, what are they gonna do? You scream you're out of the park? Like, I mean,
That would be crazy.
that would be crazy. There's gonna be a lot of changes coming up. It's just
Well, like speaking of like the vaccine, they're sending kids back to school and they're not vaccinated. The teachers are though.
how do you feel about that?
I think absolutely ridiculous. My sisters aren't going to go back to school during a pandemic, especially the kindergartners who want to play with their friends and stuff. They're not going to be able to regulate the children.
I agree. It's hard to do just in general. And now we have this pandemic to regulate children and what they're doing. I don't think that they're going to be able to do that efficiently. I don't think it's a realistic idea.
I definitely agree. Are you going to take the vaccine?
Yes. I think I'm totally pro vaccine. But I understand too that there's some people that are not able to take the vaccine. What about you?
I think it depends on which one. I'm definitely not taking the Johnson & Johnson.
Can you explain why?
The Johnson and Johnson one, they were saying that it's a one shot vaccine, which is fine, but they were saying that it doesn't cover as much as the other vaccines cover. So I think I want the one that's going to cover me a little bit more. I'll take the second shot if it's going to cover a little bit more.
I agree. I think I wish that the other vaccines were like that too. But yeah, that's definitely true.
Different people react to the vaccine differently. I know that we had some friends that have had the vaccine and, they've been great, so I kind of like sat back and kind of watched and see what other people, how they received it and how it works for them, so it works out, it seems like they're doing well. So it's like, okay, now I'm feeling a little more comfortable about taking it myself, so that was the biggest thing with me. It did happen really fast. I know they're trying to reassure everyone that, oh no, it's safe, but there's one thing to say it's safe, But then, then again, well, is it really, people gonna, come up with cancer later on because of this or something, just, your thoughts. You just worry about everything.
That's true. I know some people were talking about the side effects, like maybe headaches or fatigue. But after a few days or so, they have said that, they felt fine. So
Well, I'm definitely a hypochondriac. I want to be safe.
I think we all want to be safe and we all want this pandemic to be over.